to another episode of the English Transformation Podcast. My name's Paul and this is Rory.
Hi.
Hello. And today we're going to be talking about hometowns.
Yes.
Cool.
We're going to be talking about our hometowns. Now, talking about where you're from is something that comes up in English a lot. It comes up in everyday conversations, but it also comes up in multiple English proficiency tests. So it's useful to kind of know how to describe your hometown.
And students hate it, don't they, I think. When I've met them in schools, when I was teaching in schools, and the question comes up of where do you come from? Oh, I don't want to talk about that again. But you need to talk about it again, because that's the question. And as you said, it is common. I don't know about TOEFL so much.
It is. It's common across most English proficiency tests.
Yeah. IELTS for sure.
Yeah.
That
so it is. It's also common in TOEFL, also in the Cambridge test and the PTE. So it's useful to be able to know how to talk about your hometown.
So tell me about yours then. We'll start with you, ladies first.
My hometown is Tegucigalpa, Honduras.
Sounds cool.
It is not.
All right. Mine neither.
My hometown is on a river, and it's actually two cities that are divided by the river. It's the capital city of Honduras, and it's in kind of the middle of the country, so it's inland. It's not a coastal city. Now, one kind of feature about my city is that it's very hilly. It's surrounded by mountains, and the valley in the middle is actually very hilly. There's a lot of hills, so traffic is kind of crazy because often you'll have a traffic light halfway up a hill. So if you're driving in the city, you really need to be good at hill starts.
Yeah.
Also, that means that it's not very bike friendly. So not a lot of people ride their
Be all right
bikes.
going downhill, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but then you have to go back up another hill.
Definitely.
So that's a main feature of my city, that it's very hilly. And so the roads have to curve a lot. They tend to be very narrow. And there's not a lot of bikes. That means you basically have to have cars or motorbikes.
What's the best thing about it? What's the best thing about where you come from, your hometown?
Best thing about it is probably the areas around the city. To the north of the city is a very beautiful mountain where there are two national parks. One is more developed and has a statue of Christ, similar to Rio, but much, much smaller.
Like a souvenir of the Rio one.
Yeah, kind of. And there's another national park that's actually a cloud forest.
Cloud forest.
Cloud forest.
A forest of clouds.
Kind of. It's so high up and it has so many trees that it's almost always shrouded in clouds.
Wow.
And you see a huge variety of different tropical plants, animals, birds. You've got waterfalls. And then on the other side of the city, there's a small colonial town with a lot of pine forests around it. So the best part of the city is not actually the city itself, but the areas
Outside
around
the
city.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they're not built too much. People don't live in those areas.
No.
Is that right?
No.
Okay, so it's not like you have envy of another suburb or something.
No, not
Okay.
really.
Fantastic.
What about you? Tell me about your hometown.
My hometown is Milton Keynes, or Bletchley, Milton Keynes. And same Bletchley. I was thinking about what is good or what to say about my hometown. It's about an hour or so north of London on the train, depending on how good the trains are on the day, and they're usually not very good. It's a relatively new town, or it was. I've been gone 20 years, and so it was 20 or 30 years old then. And it was built mainly, I believe, for the overflow of people coming back from the war, and then those people having lots of babies and needing to house everybody. So it's a relatively new development. Middle class, maybe you could say it was. And Bletchley is a bit older than Milton Keynes, and it's where Bletchley Park is housed. You know Bletchley Park?
No.
It's very disappointing, Rory, but
Sorry.
here comes a history lesson for you. Bletchley Park is a big old estate, like I can't think of the word now, not like a public house. A big old house, like a mansion.
Oh, okay.
And it was used to house the Enigma code breakers during the war.
Oh, wow.
So that's why you speak English now, because England won the war. Nobody wins a war, really, do they? So that's quite an important part, is Bletchley Park. And I believe that there was a tunnel that went under some roads into the local pub, either for the people to go to the pub and then secretly enter this Enigma code breaking area, or secretly go to the pub. I'm not sure. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Milton Keynes is then a little bit newer than that, and it's built on it's not so nice. At least it wasn't when I was there. Okay. Apparently it's nicer now, but it's built on a grid system, so there are lots of roundabouts.
Okay.
So supposedly it's easy to get around, and my friends still live there, quite a few of them. So it looks nice, but it looks nicer than when I was there. That's about it. And when I left, they had just opened a ski dome. So we had, I think it's Europe's largest indoor skiing and snowboarding area. So yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's my historical place.
Okay. And what do most of the people in your hometown do?
Did you just ask somebody an IELTS question? That's one. Most people probably. It's quite wide ranging. I mean, there would be people working in the local shops and the industry there. More so, people would go to Milton Keynes, the city, to work, office work, marketing. What do office workers do? I don't know. Depends on the business, but those sorts of things, or commute into London. Okay. Travel into London to, again, working offices there, or banks. Okay. There is an entertainment district, a theatre district in Milton Keynes, so people working in bars and restaurants and shops, pretty much what anybody does. It's not like further north, I suppose, where there would be previously mining industries or industrial areas like that, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Cool. How about in your hometown?
Well,
what work do they do there?
Tegucigalpa originally started as a mining town, but one of the presidents moved the capital to Tegucigalpa, and since then it's been the capital, and so it's the center of the government. Mm-hmm. Honduras has a very centralized government, so the majority of the economic activity that takes place in Tegucigalpa is centered around the government.
Cool.
It's the largest employer of people in my city, and as a result, then you have all the other industries that spring up around that. So, for example, an industry supplying, let's say, equipment for the government. For the government to do whatever it is.
They're all based in that
stuff. And yeah,
city,
so you have a base in that city. It's not a very commercial city, so it's not a big center of trade and commerce. Most of it is centered around government activities, or needing government approval for something. So yeah, it's cool. Because it's a capital city. A lot of the economic activity takes place around the government.
I do remember we had a place called the MK Bowl. It was like an amphitheatre type thing, where there were concerts.
Okay.
REM, Michael Jackson, Bon Jovi. I probably saw Bon Jovi there when they were cool, and when I was cooler. So yeah, that was quite a few. I guess because it was in the middle and it was new. Relatively, you could say it's in the middle of England. So lots of events were there, and it's new, so people wanted to go and build things there that people would enjoy, but not cool. It doesn't sound cool like Tegucigalpa. I'm just happy I can say that properly.
Yeah, good job. Good job on that. And what do people in your city do for fun?
I'm not sure I can say that on the camera. What do they do for fun? Pretty much the same as most people would do in, around, hang out with friends, probably drink too much at some point. It was known for its shopping centre, which is rather depressing because it's a very consumerist idea. But it did have a very large shopping centre that tour buses would come to this place. So we had a cinema complex called The Point, and that was popular with kids. I remember watching The Matrix there. It was like a pyramid, but not a pyramid. It was a shockingly bad version of a pyramid.
Okay.
Just neon lights going to a point. Okay. But that was fun. That's where a lot of people would hang out, is at The Point. There was arcade games to play, obviously the cinema, and then pubs. There are lots of pubs.
Okay.
In all of England, there are lots of pubs, so people would go there. I guess there were lots of music venues, raves.
Yeah.
There was a place called The Sanctuary, which I don't think I was cool enough to ever go to. I wasn't cool enough to ever go there, but that was popular with the underground scene.
Okay.
People going there. Tons of stuff, lots of shopping.
Yeah.
I don't know now what it would be like because I haven't been there for 20 years. So I do believe there are a lot more immigrants now than when I was younger, but I left when I was 20. So
yeah, fair enough. In Tegucigalpa, Tegucigalpa is not a very safe city. There's a lot of crime.
Yeah, okay.
And as a result, most of our kind of like leisure activities, the things that we do for fun, tend to be around places where there's a fair degree of safety. Indoors, and in particular, eating. We do a lot of eating. So there's no pub culture like in England, but there's eating. There's lots of restaurants, and everybody generally goes to restaurants quite a bit. But we also have a big culture of hosting things at home because it's safe.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's a safe space. And so people tend to have gatherings and barbecues and parties at home rather than go to a pub or go somewhere else. Shopping centers are increasingly popular, but Tegucigalpa's economic situation isn't great. People don't have a lot of spending power. So instead of shopping, what they're really doing at these shopping centers is kind of just walking around, window shopping, and then also going to the food courts and the cinemas.
Yeah. Okay.
So going to the cinemas is a big
spending money, isn't it?
Yes.
It's a better way to spend money, no?
As opposed to buying physical things.
Yeah,
it's mostly going to the food court and going to the cinemas.
It's probably good that people are not buying stuff. Here, people buy I buy tons of stuff that I don't need, probably. Apple computers and AirPods or whatever I want to buy next. I think it's nice that people spend money on eating with friends and enjoying movies. Maybe they want to shop. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just the West.
You probably would like to shop, but don't necessarily have, the purchasing power to go shopping as often as someone else would. Has
Tegucigalpa changed a lot since you were there? Since you grew up there?
I grew up there, and while it was never particularly safe, it was not as dangerous as it is now.
Wow.
Another thing that has changed very clearly from when I grew up is the climate.
How has that changed?
It has gotten significantly hotter. Hotter. During summer now in Tegucigalpa, it is not uncommon to have 30 degrees, or
And how
over
different-
30 degrees.
how different is
where
that?
growing up, it rarely went above 26.
Well, 4 degrees is quite a lot, isn't it?
It is a
change
lot.
over the short time.
It is a lot. Where I grew up was on this mountain that's in the north, and I remember fog every morning. I remember wearing jumpers the majority of the year. I remember that I used to warm my bed up with my hairdryer before bed, and when I went back, I never had to wear a jumper. I didn't see any fog, and in many houses now in that area, there's air conditioning, which
A good
there
change or
never
a
used
bad
to
change?
be. Oh,
Overall?
definitely. I believe a bad change because the climate that's created water issues. There very recently there was a forest fire, which I had never heard of before. There being a forest fire.
So it's going to affect the habitat of native animals.
Of course.
things like that.
There used to be owls, and there's none of that anymore. So that's definitely changed. It's gotten unsafer.
Has it got bigger, like more populous?
It has. But that was kind of an expected change, really. But one positive change is that it has gotten a lot more modern. The streets are a lot better.
So they've developed.
They have developed. The streets are a lot better maintained. The new roads are much wider and more prepared for the future. The traffic, they've done quite a lot to the roads to kind of ease the traffic flow. There are less power outages as well.
That's always a bonus, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. So there are a lot of things that have modernized in the city. So that is, a good, positive
Cool.
change.
I can't say that I know that mine has changed a lot because I haven't been there for 20 years.
Yeah.
Almost. I'm probably not. I'm going next year, which is rapidly upon us, depending on when you're watching this video. So I guess I will notice quite a change. I do know that I have seen on Google Earth or Google Maps my street and my house. After we sold it, the people that bought it rented it out, and my dad was very proud of the garden, the beautiful tree that we had, and the flowers and whatever. But now it's been changed to just concrete and garbage bins and 3 or 4 cars where what the garden once was, and that's true for the neighbours as well. So it doesn't look as nice, but he doesn't live there anymore. He lives in Australia, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
So I can't say what's changed too much. I think that it's the local town centre has been underdeveloped and not cared for and been a bit run down, as far as I hear from friends. So that's not cool. Whereas the city of Milton Keynes has probably grown and been made to be even nicer than it was. But yeah, my local town centre, the high street or the main street, I don't believe it's ever so nice, which is a shame because I thought it was nice when I was there. I don't think it particularly was. I was just 7 or 8, so I didn't really know any better. But yeah, that's the way.
Okay.
Anyway.
Interesting. So some of the things that you should keep in mind when you're talking about your hometown is you should probably describe it first, maybe geographically. Where is it in relation to maybe bigger cities or other kind of things? You can also just describe it physically. For example, the natural geography of the area, what the roads look like, what the shops look like, what the houses look like. Are there many tall buildings? You might also want to describe what people do for work and for fun.
Depending on depending on the question, you got to find a balance between talking too long and not enough, right? It's like Goldilocks.
Yeah.
Not that they might not know Goldilocks, but you definitely have to answer and extend with things like because, or thinking about who, what, when, where, why, and how, right? These sorts of questions are going to help you. You don't have to do all of them, but you definitely need to answer and extend, at least in IELTS. That's true in TOEFL as well?
TOEFL as well, and give examples. Like, for example, how you talked about Bletchley Park. You know,
Exactly
that's
right.
a great way to extend your answer.
And that's difficult to do, of course, because it's another language. It should be difficult. And it will always be hard, but you can get better. But you have to practice, right? That's the only way. So you can practice with yourself. It's cool to listen. You probably should write comments on this video and any video that you watch, because it's only going to help if you do that. Comment below with other topics you'd like to watch or listen to us talk about, or if you're listening to the podcast, shoot me a message at the email address that is in the description below, and the same for you on YouTube if you wish. Also, click the link below to join the free 7-day English course, and that will help you immensely, which means a lot. Thanks, Raw.
Thanks, Paul.
See you later. See you later.